Hi there, lovelies, and welcome. Yay. I'm hoping that Zoom proves to be a more supportive platform for getting these webinars to. I do use it for sessions and for group calls, but after the dodgy quality on the live stream of the last one, I decided to explore this path. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to be working out some kinks today, but I'm very, very, very happy to be creating this for you. This is something that not only I'm really passionate about, but also is really aligned with the energy at the moment with this new moon in Aries. So I'm super excited to dive into accessing your sacred feminine fire. So yeah, welcome to those of you who are here. I know we had a few ladies who got a little confused with the daylight savings time, but I'm looking forward to hearing how you like the recording as well. So that will be going out to all of the people who are registered by email. And yeah, I'd love to hear what you think. You know, if you're watching this after the fact, I'd love to hear how today lands for you. So, you know, we're not going to be doing a whole heap of talk today. Obviously, I'll be talking. But I want to, you know, touch a little bit on what we're going to go into, a little bit about me, a little bit about, you know, why it's important that we're really able to access this part of ourselves and what blocks us as women, as 21st century women, in accessing our feminine fire. But then we're really going to dive into doing some energetic work and tapping into this part of ourselves and exploring some practical tools as well that we can use in everyday life to really connect us to this as part of our lived experience so that we can use this energy to really fuel us and enhance our experience of life, enhance our pleasure, enhance our joy, enhance our passion, and help us get into that flow of divine action as well, where, you know, we're not stressed, we're not flustered, we're not running on unhealthy adrenaline, that this fire that belongs within us has a healthy outlet so that we can, really create the life that we want. Recognize ourselves as creators in the driver's seat. And I say that in, you know, we're not talking about I am a creator. We're talking about, you know, aligned with the universe, aligned with flow. At the core, we are one. At the core, divine will and our will are inseparable. And so by tapping into this deep, sacred place where we meet with the divine, and we also meet with the divine feminine, specifically as women, we can find that this flows into all areas of our lives and really supports us and helps us to purify as well, burn away the dross, and clear any stagnant energy. Some really powerful tools. So before I even dive into, you know, about me and intro-y stuff, I want to take a minute just to encourage you all to take a breath. So really letting your breath fill in, fill the belly, being aware of your feet and taking a moment just to arrive. No force, no effort. This isn't some technique to master. This isn't something else to do. This is connecting with what's already happening, your breathing, and landing. Really landing here. And taking as many breaths as feels supportive. Letting the past fade into the past, the future fade into the future. In this moment, we're going to connect to the seed energy. We're going to connect to place of potential, the beginning, the moment of stillness before the first step. And knowing that just by showing up to watch this video or listen to this audio or be here today, that this energy is already active for you. There's an enormous energy that's already present and active for us as we set this intention. As we stop and we choose, this is what I'm going to access now. really listening to the space between my words, hearing, feeling what's present here for you to absorb this transmission of incredible, sacred, feminine love and fire from our hearts and our wombs collectively. Ah, really allowing it to land, allowing yourself to receive it, giving yourself permission to let this in your power, your birthright. Okay. Wow. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rebecca. Most people call me Beck. I am a feminine awakening coach and energy medicine practitioner. These are without doubt some of my greatest callings in this life. I'm so passionate about this work. There are no words. I'm not even going to try. And I'm very, very happy to be connecting with you around this today. So this is such an important energy for us to access. And it's something that we've been very disassociated from. It's something that has been very much suppressed and demonized, really discouraged, really shamed. So before we deepen into the energy that's here for us on the call today, I wanted to just name some of the things that can come up, some of the blocks that can arise in resistance to this energy. And I wanted to, just bring those into the light, bring those into your awareness so that when they arise, you don't believe them. You don't take them as fact. You can recognize that this is the response of your programming, the response of your operating system to something that, hasn't been allowed at all. So, gosh, there's so much and there's no really light way to start. The feminine fire can show up in a lot of ways. This sacred feminine fire can show up in a lot of ways. We can experience it as pleasure. We can experience it as that beautiful, fiery sexual desire. We can experience it as anger or frustration when our power is required to create some change, when there is a block or something in the way of what we desire or where our soul is aligning, where our soul is wanting to be. It can really show up as anger. It can also show up as anger if our boundaries are overstepped, as self-preservation. It can show up as incredible passion for what we do and this driving force, which is very easy for us to displace into stress because the pure energy of our fire and our desire is uncomfortable for a lot of us, whereas stress and anxiety is a lot more familiar. So we can displace it that way and experience it as stress and anxiety and overwhelm. We can experience it as, a whole host of things. So I'm sure there are more. I encourage you to come at me with, other experiences of this. I'm actually quite surprised at the moment by the strength of the energy that's on the call, and my brain is not working very well at all. I knew that there was going to be a transmission, but I didn't expect to drop into it until a little later. So I'm navigating this energy at the moment. And, of course, laughter this thing, as you can probably sense, even as I go into this space of, putting on a bright, happy face in response to the power of what's actually here. So this is where we tighten through our jaw. This is where we clench. This is where we shut down. This is another really natural response to our feminine fire because it has been shamed. So on the topic of shame, this is something that could come up for you in response to this, particularly if you're experiencing it as pleasure. I really encourage you to allow that pleasure to be in your body, even if that shame comes up, not giving it any power and just dropping back down into that sense of pleasure. When it shows up as anger or it shows up as the need for something to change in our lives, we've often been told as women that it's not ladylike to be angry. Our first experiences of anger as children with the old paradigm parenting were very most likely shut down or shamed or punished. So when we experience our fire arising as anger, it's really important that we give ourselves permission to feel that, going to guide us forward. Now, the other way that our feminine fire can manifest that vacated my brain a minute ago was as this sense of stretched or as this sense of sensation in our bodies that we can't really name. We can't really give an emotion to it. This is when the feminine fire moves through our bodies and comes up against energetic blocks. So when fire burns through a forest, obviously the action is where there are things to burn. So where the fire meets trees, where the fire meets grass, that's where the flames are. Fire can flow through space and there's nothing there to be transformed. But where there is something there to be transformed, that's where we're going to experience this fire. And so you may feel it as a physical sensation in your body. As these blocks start to clear, and the feminine fire really will support you to do this, you'll experience it more as a flowing heat. But I wanted to just touch on this because if you do experience some discomfort in your body as part of this process, that's totally normal as well. Like with the anger, it's really important that we connect into giving ourselves permission to feel. Really allowing ourselves to feel whatever's there as a starting point. And not giving that unnecessary power, but not devalidating it either. Not going into story, needing to explain it and coming up out of our bodies. But really getting acquainted with this felt experience, because the other thing that is very much embodied by feminine fire is the felt experience. It is our sensory experience. And so this can be a really powerful guide, and it can also be a really powerful block if we're determined to operate from our heads. So I'm going to take a moment to breathe. I can feel myself getting a little short of breath. I'll invite you to do the same. Particularly if you're a woman who is maybe a little bit of an overachiever or a high functioner, or who has a real passion for life. It's so easy to go into judgment, to go into future-oriented mindsets. And it's all the more important that we come back and we ground this energy into our bodies and we allow it to nourish us rather than drain us. Because we don't often feel safe with our feminine fire, our natural instinct will be to flow it directly outwards as opposed to being actually able to be with it. So if you find you have a short temper, or you find that you get snappy easily when you're stressed, or alternatively you clench the jaw to prevent yourself doing that, this is you either trying to lock down or expel the energy really quickly rather than allowing it to be in your body. So the goal of today is actually for us to start to become comfortable with what it feels like to have this fire in our bodies. It can warm us, it can nourish us, it can inspire us. So really encouraging you, even if the sensation becomes quite intense, just to stay with the breathing and allow it to be in your body, not need to find an outlet for it, not get up and go and do something if you start feeling restless. Yet another manifestation. I told you there. Really staying with that breath, allowing that flow to happen through your body. If you notice yourself locking, just setting a light, gentle intention. Okay. Wow. So that's a bit of a rundown of what we're going to do. If anyone has any questions, I encourage you to throw them into the chat box. Otherwise, we are going to start to explore this energy a little bit. But before we do that, if you are in a work environment, if you are listening to this while you're driving or cooking, I really encourage you to pause it and come back to it later. Or if you're listening here live, to wait for the recording to really drop into the transmission more fully. Do not operate heavy machinery while this lands. It's very important. It will also be helpful if you're able to take a little bit of space on the other side of listening to this or viewing this fully, just to allow everything to integrate, recognizing that it's a strong energetic process that's taking place. It totally transcends time. Do not doubt the powers of technology. This energy is as present for you if you're listening to this after the fact as it is for us here today. So, oh, goodness me. So making yourself comfortable, preferably seated, but if it feels more supportive, by all means lying down. And letting the breath really flow in and out of the body. Without any force, without any direction at this point. Just allowing it to flow. Allowing the space and the silence between my words to deliver a far more potent message than words can or ever could. Allowing your facial muscles to soften, becoming aware of anywhere that's holding, and allowing it to gently soften also, without any force, without any effort. Trusting that with a simple intention, relaxation comes just as easily as movement or tension. Becoming aware of what's alive in your internal world right now, and giving it permission to be there. Creating space for it without any judgment, any resistance. If your eyes aren't already closed, letting them close down if that feels supportive. And letting the beautiful, supportive, divine energy that's here to guide our process today, welcoming that into your body, welcoming it into your soul, into your cells, into your belly, into your breath. Letting it find its way down into your womb space, into your beautiful pelvic bowl, the center of our feminine grounding, power, connection. And using this opportunity, if you need to make any small adjustments to your posture, if there's any movement that your body requires to relax more deeply. If you're seated and it feels supportive, allowing your legs to come wide and your feet to plant firmly. Look softly on the earth. And allowing your breath to flow down around the joints in your hips. Again, allowing any movement that feels supportive. The energy moves down into your legs, to your ankles and your feet. Allowing this transmission to land. And as it does, turning your attention down into your pelvic bowl, into the center of your womb space. As you do so, placing the tip of your tongue behind your upper teeth on the roof of your mouth, letting your mouth fall open gently. And allowing your mouth to remain open as you inhale through the nose and exhale through pursed lips. As you do so, letting a little movement come into your hips, letting this be sexy. As you inhale, mouth slightly open, tongue resting behind the upper teeth, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through pursed lips. And allowing any gentle noises or movements to come, noticing any resistance to that, allowing it, and continuing to breathe. Without force, creating that space. Letting that breath be a wave that you can ride and follow. Letting yourself receive. Inviting this fire intentionally inviting it to awaken. Noticing the sensation that rises in your body as you set that invitation. It might be pleasure, it might be anger, it might be fear. Whatever arises, staying with that breath. And allowing it to move through your body, allowing yourself to experience. Giving yourself permission to experience this. And if despite this invitation you're still feeling very little, noticing whether you're holding any tension in your face, in your chest, in your shoulders. And letting the next breath really support you to soften and allow, soften and allow, soften and allow, soften and allow. And letting this next layer of the transmission, the integration, begin to really filter through. Allowing yourself to come back a little, really connecting with your physical body, being aware of any pleasure or sensation that's present in your physical body, and grounding back, coming back onto the ball. When you're ready, allowing the eyes to open. We're going to take a little time to let that integrate. We'll explore some practical tools while that filters through. And we'll see what else is present a little later in the call. It's important that we move softly and gently with ourselves. Those of us who are passionate about self-improvement have the tendency to overstretch. But like in yoga, it's not actually constructive. Give it time, give it time, give it time. So as you ground back into a more lucid space, coming back onto the call or the audio. Allowing yourself to start by offering yourself some gratitude. Really acknowledging that you're doing this for yourself. That it's not physical, tangible, goal-oriented work. That it's deeply important. And the fact that you're choosing to prioritize it is a real gift to you that you're giving yourself. So thank you. I'd like to touch on some practical things that we can do day to day to support us to really connect with this feminine fire, to support us to be nourished by it. I'm also going to go into a little bit later a really important perspective that we hold around this. But I'll get back to that. I'm saying it out loud so I don't forget. So We explored a breath as part of that activation, that transmission. And breath is not to be understated as a tool. Yes, it's incredibly simple. Yes, some people consider it basic, but breath work is one of the most powerful, powerful ways that we can connect with our bodies. We can access the present, and we can also create space, create movement, create flow for energy through our bodies. So if you're not breathing, there's only so much energy you're going to be able to receive. Every time you inhale, you receive fresh energy, you receive fresh oxygen. Every time you exhale, energy moves out of your body back into the environment. It's biology. It's metabiology. Science is figuring it out now into the modern era. So, I connected you with that breath, and that's something that you can continue to use that I find incredibly effective. So this is particularly when I'm feeling, one of my ways that my fire will show up is as a sense of like stress or irritability when I'm wanting to do something and something's getting in the way of me doing that, or I'm feeling pulled in different directions. So I get this sense of like, which is actually driven by my passionate desire to do something that feels aligned. If you look at it that way, stress for some people is based in fear, and stress can be based in fear. But stress isn't always based in fear. Stress is often based in desire, or the desire to achieve a goal, or the desire to create something. And that sense of fire and urgency that moves towards that, where as soon as we start to lock it down or attach it to an outcome, that's when it can distort and it becomes stress and anxiety. So in order to transmute stress and anxiety back into creative energy, breath is an incredibly, incredibly, incredibly powerful tool. And the breath that I showed you actually came through the other day. I don't know, I'm sure someone does it. I'm sure it exists somewhere. But it actually just came through as a stroke of inspiration and a way to transmute feelings of stress and irritability into feelings of pleasure and creativity. So, I'm calling it the sexy breath at the moment because I don't know what else to call it. So, the tongue rests behind the upper teeth, the inhales through the nose, but you allow the mouth to hang open. So it's really, it's the way you would breathe. It's one of the ways that I often breathe if I'm connecting tantrically with my partner without even, realizing that I'm doing it intentionally. So you can sigh on the exhale, or you can purse the lips. I find either are effective, and that noise is incredibly effective as well. Yes, you might get some funny looks if you try to do this in a public place. Save it for at home if you need to. Go to the toilet if you're in an office block. Cut the noise if you absolutely have to. If you focus on the breath, who's going to know? Who's going to know you're in there? I know it's obviously harder in that space, but I'll encourage you just to, connect with that breath one more time. Obviously, we did it in that transmission, but really just exploring how it feels in your body to So this isn't an attempt to force or change the energy, but it is the creation of space. It is the shifting of the intention away from tightness and tension into sensuality and movement. And that's what's going to help us as well to realign with the sacredness of the fire as opposed to, the potential chaos of it. Because fire can be really chaotic if it burns out of control. So it can help you to channel it in a way that feels good and that's actually constructive. So I really encourage you to connect with that. There's other breath work that's effective as well. Really allowing the breath and allowing that feminine responsive breath to come. A lot of meditation practice, a lot of breath work practice is quite masculine, quite structured. It's quite focused around observation. This is a much more immersive technique, and we find that these feminine approaches that involve movement and immersion do help us to connect more to that feminine aspect, which as women, it doesn't actually necessarily come more naturally because we've been told to get into our masculine to survive in the world. To reclaim this power is also going to help us to access our intuition, and the breath can be a really beautiful gateway to that as well. I encourage you to do that, and then inevitably when energy moves, which it does when you explore any kind of breath work, I invite you to check out my blog post on shedding. You'll see it on the Heart Garden site. Being aware of when that sense of it's almost like a frantic energy, or like I need to hold on, or like it can be like a fear that often comes up when energy starts moving. Really important just to let that fall away. So as you're breathing, you're connecting into your core, connecting into your base, and you're allowing any energy that's coming up to fall away, to shed away, to realize that holding on is overrated and that we don't need to keep everything together in quite the way we think. But relax, everything is under control. Or more importantly and more accurately, relax, nothing is under control. So, pardon me. That's another way I move energy. It's not going to be the last time you hear me burp. Maybe on this call if we're lucky. No. So I wanted to connect you into that. Now, energy work is incredibly effective as well, obviously. You don't need to come to me for that. You can, by all means. Like, I love doing it. I love supporting people, and I feel like there's, a more powerful transition often available through another practitioner. I will go to another practitioner as well at times when I feel like there are frequencies that aren't as natural for me to access. However, you can totally do this for yourself. You can totally do this for yourself. You set the intention for divine feminine fire, for sacred feminine fire and love to come and support your process and support your body and clear away any energy that's not serving you. You set the clear intention that this is the only energy that you're welcoming in are supportive and helpful energies of the divine feminine. And you place your hands on your body and you surrender. So please, setting that clear intention is critically important. However, if you do that, there is no reason that you can't empower yourself to start working with this on an energetic level. Yes, it takes practice and training and experience to really deepen into a full channel, but you can totally do this for yourself. So I encourage everyone to start, becoming empowered, taking some time for themselves, even if it's you just taking 10 minutes to place your hands on your body and set that intention and connecting with your breath. It can only be supportive. So I definitely encourage you to do that if that feels helpful, if that feels like it's you. Of course, if it doesn't, then don't. Goes without saying. So what did I want to connect in with you next? So self-care, I'll just touch on briefly because it's something that is very often kind of pushed aside when we are goal-oriented or when we are quite, passionate people by nature, or when we're givers who extend a lot of our energy outwards and don't cultivate a lot of it for ourselves. I spoke about the need to cultivate this fire within our bodies, not just discharge it. And for people who give, often we give our energy out before we've actually had the opportunity to be nourished by it. The one thing that self-care can really do is help you to connect with that and connect with the pleasure in your body, even if it's just while you're drying yourself when you get out of the shower. You feel the sensation of the towel on your back and you apply some moisturizer. That really cultivates that sensual feminine energy, that sacred feminine energy. And giving that love to yourself is the most powerful investment. It's a really beautiful practical tool that you can explore in your life. The other thing that I wanted to touch on as far as practical tools goes is diet. So particularly coming into winter, this is not a healthy food lecture. I'm so serious about that. I'm a big believer in enjoying life. So, we eat very well and we also deprive ourselves of nothing that we want, basically. However, coming into winter, one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that we have digestive fire. So traditional Chinese medicine recognizes this, Ayurveda recognizes this. As the weather starts to cool down, it's really important that you don't overdo the cold, dry foods. So, salads and stuff are great, but be really mindful in the colder weather. If you are going to have a salad, you're going to want to have it around the middle of the day, which is when it's warmest, when there's the most digestive fire as well. So being aware of that, because that can really make a big difference to your constitution. Having some charge issues on my computer here. Okay, that work. There we go. So yeah, really encouraging you to connect in with that a little bit, particularly if you are a bit prone to anxiety. Having a look at the Vata constitution in Ayurveda and just exploring how you can bring in some more spices, some more warming foods into your diet. After I had my son, I was really focused on this because the body loses a lot of heat and moisture during childbirth. So this is really important for mamas as well. And I was having warm milk with spices like ginger and cinnamon and warm, it was warm rice milk, but that was, incredibly supportive to nourish that inner fire, nourish that digestive fire. So I encourage you to really connect in with that as well. So they're the practical kind of nitty-gritty bits and pieces that I wanted to lay on the table for you. So the breath work, kind of me, told you it wouldn't be the last time. Energy work that you can offer yourself, the self-care, and also the diet. Now, before we kind of transition into the last part of the call and see what else is here that wants to come through energetically, I also wanted to touch on the sacredness of this energy. So I actually noticed today, this just came up for me today, and it was really powerful to deepen my understanding, deepen my embodiment of it prior to coming on to share with you all. About 20 minutes before this call, hey. I was feeling quite fierce, quite irritable. My little boy was having some trouble going to sleep, and I'd been supporting him, and I really needed to take some space. And I was aware that the call was coming up. I wasn't in fear mode about it, but I was kind of, quite tense in my body, and I was aware of obviously the Aries energy that's present at the moment with this new moon, and really kind of craving some space for me, really being in a bit of the I need to be left alone. So feeling that sense of irritability and stress and tension in my body. And interestingly enough, as I sat down to be with it, I noticed my shoulders slumped and my bottom lip came out. And there was this extra layer of energy on top of what I was actually experiencing, which was like a form of shame. And it was like a, I shouldn't be feeling this way thing, which, is not new news to work with something like that. But it was just interesting the way it came up directly before this call. Almost as if I was judging the experience that I was having. So, it was unpleasant. I'd prefer to feel calm and flowy and embodied and inspired. And so this experience of irritability was, making me a little bit sulky. And I realized that so much of what was driving that was my story and my perspective around, I suppose, what that energy is, whether it's useful. So this might be like elementary to some of you. It's a little new to me, even as I've been obviously exploring this feminine firework. What I had to really connect with was the sacredness of what I was experiencing, not just the okayness, not just it being acceptable, not just it being okay for me to be irritable and a bit kind of feeling a bit off and feeling a bit snappy in my body, but actually the sacredness of it. Actually this is my incredible self-preservation. This is my incredible passion for myself and my work. This is my really clear flow of communication between my soul need and my surroundings. And what I'm feeling is actually sacred. And you know, that doesn't mean that I want to feel that all the time. It doesn't mean that I want to give irritability and frustration my energy and create more of it. But I can be aware when it does come up that this is just another form of fire. There's actually something really sacred that's here to serve me in this. And that calm is actually a little bit overrated. We've been told for our whole lives. I know as a child, I was told a lot to calm down. It's like the world does not need calm women right now. Yes, we need to be centered. Yes, we need to be nourished. Yes, we need to be in flow. But this feeling of fire, you know, if I didn't feel irritable when I was overdue for my own space, there'd be something really wrong. So really acknowledging the sacredness of that, recognizing that there's no need for shame around that. I wasn't somehow failing as a spiritual woman because I was feeling that way. In fact, this was my feminine soul speaking to me. This was my feminine fire speaking to me. And as soon as I was able to connect with the sacredness of what was being offered to me and I was able to drop into that breath, I found myself back in flow really quickly, really quickly. Still with a feeling of fire in my chest, totally. It's important that we get comfortable with this feeling of fire because it's okay. It's okay. It's part of our passion. We don't need to run in the other direction every time we feel a little bit irritable. It's part of who we are. It's part of our self-preservation instinct. It's part of our incredible drive to change the world in one way or another, in big ways or small. So yeah, wanted to let that land for you lovelies. So important to acknowledge that we really hold a perspective of sacredness around our full experience of this feminine fire. No matter what comes up, acknowledging that it's just as sacred as deep peace. It can be just as helpful as deep peace as well if we listen and we give ourselves permission and we allow it. So allowing that to sink in. Anyone has any questions, feeling free to throw those in the chat box. Maybe don't throw them. Allowing yourself to take a breath and really let the mental information sift through, and also allowing yourself to land back in your body again, land back in your heart again. It really feels like enough has been awakened today. I don't feel like this transmission is going to go any deeper. It's all actually happened a bit backwards. I wasn't expecting it to hit in the first 10 seconds either. But it's part of the magical mystery. It's just as much of a mystery to me as it is to you lovelies, what happens on these calls. But it's part of the wonder and part of the magic. And I'm so grateful to you all for coming along for the ride. We will do a closing, however. Going to leave it there for today because it feels like a lot has moved. But I'll encourage you to really connect with your feet for a moment. Really connect with the soles of your feet, the sensuality inherent in the soles of your feet. I'm not talking about the fetish. I'm talking about when you walk barefoot across the ground, across the earth, and the wave of movement and pressure that moves over the soles of your feet. The ripple of movement from your feet through your ankles all the way up to your hips. And letting your breath fill your lower belly and your womb space again. We're going to support everything. Just settle and integrate a little now. What we want to do is create a beautiful, sustainable fire. So we've had our spark, we've had our initial flames when you first light a fire, and you can get really big for a bit. And now we're going to allow it to find a really comfortable, sustainable burn. This is where we can put a big log on and find ourselves a comfortable place nearby where we can sit and be or do our work, cook a meal, whatever it is we need to do next. In the presence of this fire, in the presence of this part of us that only asks that we reach out to it, that only asks that we feed it, and that will nourish us with incredible warmth, will fuel us, and really support us to burn anything that no longer serves us, and also choose and align with our intuitive sense, our divine will, our divine fire. And allowing all of this to really settle. Allowing your breath to flow easily. Preparing to transition back into the next part of your day or your evening. Thanking yourself for showing up, holding yourself through this integration. Thank you. Coming back onto the call visually if you haven't already. I hope this has been supportive. I so welcome your feedback. It's feeling really divine to be offering in this space now. For those of you who followed my astrology work, I loved serving you in that way, but it's so much more mental. And it's feeling really important now that I offer this energy medicine. So I'd love to hear how it landed for you. Yeah, please feel free to drop through an email with your thoughts as it all starts to integrate. Pass this on by all means. If you haven't come across my work before, my name is Rebecca Wheeler. My website is www.theheartgarden.com.au. You can also find me on YouTube, The Heart Garden, and on Facebook / The Heart Garden page. I'm also, pleased to announce to those who don't know already that I will be welcoming a beautiful baby girl to expand our family in July. So I'll be available for energy medicine and coaching. I also do empowered relationship work until the start of July. And then I'll be dropping into baby space for a while. So if you want to reach out before that time, please do. I'm looking forward to joining you all again in another month once we see what juicy topic is going to arise for our next beautiful transmission and broadcast. Thank you so much again for joining me. Enormous love. And I look forward to hearing from you soon. See you later. Bye.